how can I describe yandere? This book has some heavy trigger warnings. He's kind of cuckoo, and that's the aspect that sold me this book. Hello everyone, welcome back. So I really want to do a video about the books that I read in January, but I thought it would make sense. Hey Ace. I thought it would make sense to first make a video about the books that I read in 2023 so you guys can get a better sense of the books that I've enjoyed or the books that I don't want to repeat the experience. I won't be ranking the books here in stars. I don't even do that for all the books that I have on my Goodreads, but I do put them on specific tags just to be organized, I guess, in what the book made me feel. Like, if I can summarize the book in one sentence, this would be the sentence. I can organize myself better that way. Curiously, all the sentences are from Taylor Swift songs. The first book on my list is From Blood and Ash. I'm sure you guys must have seen this book all over TikTok and Instagram, I think maybe for the last 2 years. This is an adult fantasy book, the first book of a series of 3 books, I believe. In this book, we follow a girl named Poppy, and she's the chosen one, so we have the chosen one trope, and she starts to become more rebel. She is the type of female character that says that she can make it, she doesn't need anyone to protect her. We see that in some scenes and elements, but it's way more told to us than really shown. The male protagonist is this guy named Hawk that suddenly appears in her life, and she's head over heels with him for no other reason than he being hot. I'm sure Jennifer L. Armentrout used Yona of the Dawn as a reference. I'm just sure of it. There's a lot more to this book. The world building of this book is honestly kind of a mess. There's so much information and so much that the author wanted to put in the book that it gets confusing. You do have the imagery of the book, you get the vibe, but everything is a little... it's confused. You don't really get the real sense of urgency and consequences of the elements of this world. It had potential. It gives off a fantastic, dark, gothic vibe, but it wasn't much for me. Overall, this book was entertaining. It did put me out of my reading slump. Not necessarily that makes a book a good book, and it's totally okay. We can like things that are not good. This was one of them. For me, this is not a good book. I would classify this as a trash adult romance, and even if you're looking for adult romance and smut scenes, it's not well done in this book. So yeah, you can read it, you can enjoy it. I really enjoyed it. I had fun, I laughed a lot. This goes to the tag, long story short, it was a bad time. The next book on my list is I'm Glad My Mom Died. This book is a memoir book, and we follow Janet's childhood and the start of her career. We follow how her mother's narcissist personality influenced her and impacted her on her life choices. Narcissism is a personality disorder that has a huge spectrum, and it influences not only the life of the person with the narcissism disorder, but also the family. In this case, we see the scenario of a daughter of narcissistic mother. Everything that happened to her, it's so crude, and so much has happened that we could never guess by watching her in her, I think, the most famous role that she performed on, that was the Sam on iCarly. This is a delicate topic and a delicate book. I think the trigger warnings can vary from abusive relationship between mother and daughter, narcissistic parent, trigger warning, eating disorders. So be aware when reading this book. If you're going to give this a try, I would recommend the audiobook because it's narrated by Janet herself. As an actress, she does a fantastic job, and you can really feel the emotion. It's heavy. This is a heavy book and a great book. This goes to my I Would Marry You with Paper Rings tag. The next book on the list is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and as an extra, the novella The Mysteries of the Thorn Mansion. I think that's the title. Both books I listened to the audiobook, and it was such a quick book to listen. It's so funny to the concept of listening to books. This is a standalone series. The novella is just an extra. You can totally skip it. But if you enjoy Sorcery of Thorns, I think you would end up reading or listening to the novella anyway. So I follow this girl that lives in this fantastic library. The books are enchanted and alive. The books can talk, the books can have feelings, they can turn to monsters. The protagonist is framed of a crime she didn't commit. She actually helped to solve, but she was the only person there on the crime scene, so she was going to go on trial. And she starts to make these plans to discover the real culprit. What wouldn't be such a problem if she was not being taken hostage by this sorcerer and his kind of familiar butler demon with white hair. Like, just thinking about this book again, this feels like this could be an anime, and it would be an amazing anime. This is an YA fantasy book. It has a fantastic vibe, but very light on the fantasy. I think I would compare it to Studio Ghibli. So if you like Studio Ghibli vibes, I would recommend this book. This is not an amazing adventure with high stakes and full of drama. It does have the consequences. The world building is solid, it's fairly solid. The characters are there. I've seen a lot of people loving the demon butler character. Wasn't the best character for me. An entertaining book, both of them, and quick to listen to, so they both go to the tag I Was Enchanted to Meet You. The next book is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This book is a mix of Simba meets twisted upside world Little Mermaid. So we follow the main character Lyra, and she's a siren that is exiled from her kingdom by her mother, the Sea Queen, and she's turned to a human. Okay, no problem. Other than the fact that sirens hunt humans and humans hunt sirens, and Lyra ends up on the ship of this siren hunter prince. We follow Lyra's journey to get a better understanding of humans and how the war between sirens and humans first took place to begin with. And we follow her journey to get back to her kingdom and get the throne from her mother. I listened to the audiobook. It was an amazing experience. Again, also a quick book to listen to. The characters are so fun. I have such a good laughs with the relationship between the prince. I think the name is Elliot. Elliot and Lyra, they're such a good pair. I just love this book. This was one of the books that it was so entertaining. Please give this a try. The fantasy is very light, not much of rules, but this is not a problem because it's solid. So you understand the setting and everything that goes as a consequence from the characters' choices. Yeah, this book goes to the I Was Enchanted to Meet You tag. The next book is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I know this is a must-read for some of you, but it wasn't for me. I've never heard of this book before, and it was a great surprise. This is a short story book, so you can read it in just one sitting. We follow the story of this woman that was diagnosed as hysterical by her physician husband, and we follow her point of view as she tells us how displeased she is with this yellow wallpaper, kind of in an obsessive way. I think yes, I agree, it's a must-read book. This goes to my I Would Marry You with Paper Rings tag. Next book is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This book is the first in a trilogy, I believe. So we follow the story of this girl named Ring. She is an orphan that lives in this poor village, and still she manages to study really hard and is approved on this prestigious military academy. In this academy, she learns to like summon her inner goddess in preparation for this future war. This book is divided in two parts. The first part is very academy-like, very fantasy, young adult fantasy, but bear in mind this is no young adult fantasy. The second part of the book is more focused on the war and the tactics in new characters being presented to us because of the change of scenery from the academy to the actual war. The break between the two parts may put some people out of the book because there's a sudden change of the rhythm. You know when you're reading a book and you go by the inertia because the pace of the book is it's perfect for you? That was me on the first part, and then it suddenly stops and it starts again, but from the zero in the second part. So it may throw some people off. I would recommend to still push through the book because it does get better. Almost feels like two separate and different books on one. This book has some heavy trigger warnings that I would recommend for you to check before reading this book, but I feel the trigger warnings are basically for this one specific chapter that I ended up reading before sleep, so I couldn't sleep for some time. I don't want to spoil anyone in case you want to read this book and you would consider this a spoiler. So I'll leave on the description below the chapter that I'm referring to. And yes, treat the trigger warnings as serious as you can because they are pretty heavy. They impacted me in a way that a little life couldn't. No, yeah. A great read, I would recommend. I'm going to read the second book, even though the second part I wasn't a big fan of, and I imagine the second book will be the same, but this goes to my I Would Marry You with Paper Rings tag. The next book is Notes on Grief by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I'm so sorry, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. In this book, she tells us about her experience with grief. This is a very, very delicate book. This can touch in parts that are not healed yet. If you're in the grief process, this is a delicate topic and a delicate book. I would recommend this if you're more advanced in your grief process, not right away. Yeah, I don't know how to explain this book because I feel this is a book that will change from person to person. So yeah, for me, this was a great read, and this goes to my I Would Marry You with Paper Rings tag. Next book is The Kinder Poison by Natalie May. This book I started last year, and I finished the audiobook because if I was just reading the ebook, I felt that I wouldn't finish. I would DNF this book. So we follow this girl named Zaro. Because of some misunderstanding, she is said to be the human sacrifice on this race between three royal siblings. We see her adventures in the desert and trying to escape this human sacrifice fate. But honestly, there's no adventure in this book. This is a debut fantasy for Natalie May. I can see her ideas, I can see what she was trying to do, but I didn't vibe with it. The character was annoying again because she was a teen that was being dumb just for the sake of being dumb. Her logic didn't make sense. There are some repetitive patterns that the author creates to make sense of what the characters are doing. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. If you're looking for adventure, you won't find it here. If you're looking for enemies to lovers, kind of, but not much. If you're looking for a corruption arc of a female character, and that's the aspect that sold me this book, you also won't find it here. You will find all of these aspects, and not that well, on the second book. I listened to the audiobook borrowed in the library. I feel that this first book was the setting for the first, but it could have been just some a few chapters added to the second book. This was way too long for. Yeah, no, it wasn't for me. I really wanted to enjoy this book. I can see all the potential. The second book was way better, but the first one, this goes to my tag, stop, you're losing me. Okay, so now for the books that I do have physical here with me, starting with Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Hi, wanna help? Please subscribe. Please subscribe and leave a comment below. Give a like. You need to do your job. The internet love cats. So this is a young adult fantasy book, and I'm not exaggerating to say that this is a fairy tale. Feels like a fairy tale, a modern one. We follow this girl named Evangeline, and she extremely romantic, kind of innocent, naive. She has her heart broken. She asks the help of the, I believe is the Jack, the Prince of Hearts. Apparently he could heal the broken heart. You can make a deal with him. And she gets in some serious troubling situations. And I can't really say anymore because I DNF'd this book. I didn't finish this book because the character was extremely annoying. She wasn't just innocent and romantic. She was extremely naive to the point that it was defying logic for me. I couldn't engage with any of the characters. I do know this book is not a sequence, but it's the same universe as the Caraval series. I didn't read the Caraval series. I believe I would have enjoyed this book way better if I've read the series before, but I don't want to read 3 books just to start with this. So yeah, the only positive aspect for me on this book is really the modern fairy tale and the fantasy vibe. It's really perfect in this book. So if you're looking for vibe, it's in here. If you're looking for plot and characters, not the book for you. So this goes to my list of long story short, it was a bad time. Unfortunately, I really wanted to like this book. Okay, now for my best reads of this year, we start with basically the same series, the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, starting with the Cruel Prince. I even have this other copy because this one is intact, perfect, and this one is full of tags and full of notes because this book, all the books in the series, they refer to each other, and Holly Black puts clues and tips all over the book, and it's so fun to find the scattered pieces and to put it all together. So it was really fun. In the series, we follow the story of Jude, a human girl that is kidnapped alongside her twin sister and her half-fae sister. They are kidnapped by this fae that murdered her parents and brought them to the fae world. This is the start of the book. That it's no spoilers. It's literally how the book starts. So we follow Jude's journey to power, to gain power, because being a human in the fae world is the same of being scared for your life all the time because humans are so fragile compared to fae. And the fae in Holly Black's world, they are more mythological faes. You have different types of fae. They can't lie, but at the same time, they trick you. If you're looking for world building, as we usually see in young adult fantasy books, you won't find it here because Holly Black, she doesn't tell us anything. She shows us everything. You won't find Jude just thinking about how the courts of fae interact with each other. This doesn't happen because it's not necessary. And I'm a firm believer that if it's not necessary and it doesn't influence the plot, it shouldn't be written. You don't need to read that. And you may think, well, if the story is about Jude, why the title is The Cruel Prince? Because we see her interaction with this cruel prince I don't want to tell you anymore because then it could be a spoiler. But if you have seen this book recommended on TikTok or Instagram, I'm sure you have seen this under the tag of enemies to lovers. Yes, it's enemies to lovers, but it's not focused on romance. Okay? So the romance is a very special touch on the story. They don't go on dates. They don't have all the time special moments. They have moments is not in the entire book. The pinks are for the light pinks are for Jude, the dark ones are for Cardam, and the rest is just the books referring to each other. And yeah, so we have the other books, The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing. Usually people enjoy the second book, but it makes sense because you already know the characters, and here we can have more space and time for action to happen. The third book is just the ending of the story. I feel like this is a perfect story arc. So you have the beginning, you have the middle, and you have the end, the middle with the climax. If you enjoy the series, you also have the How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. This book has gorgeous illustrations. It has some stories in Cardam's POV during The Cruel Prince. I highly recommend it if you enjoy the series. I also recommend the audiobook The Lost Sisters. It tells us the point of view of Tyreen, Jude's twin sister, how she survives and her take in surviving in the Fae world. So yeah, the entire series goes to my I Would Marry You with Paper Ring stack, except for The Cruel Prince. For me, this is the best book in the entire series, and this goes to the We Are Timeless tag. And starting with the manga section of my reads, we have Something Is Wrong With Us. This is a shoujo manga full of drama with capital D. So we follow the story of this young girl that is casted out of this sweet confection shop. The mother was being accused by the owner's son, allegedly saw the murder happen. This little boy is our protagonist's childhood friend. She starts then her revenge journey to become a great sugar artist confectioner. I don't remember what she was planning to, but I think she was going to destroy the shop or take over the shop. I don't remember. The thing is, they meet again and the boy asks her hand in marriage because she is amazing at her work. He knows that, but he doesn't recognize her. We know they know each other. She knows, he doesn't know. This manga was amazing. I can compare this to a roller coaster that you have all the time, the ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And maybe that's the problem with it, because this roller coaster never stops. You can kind of, you don't want to read this all the time because it happens again and again and again. The drama, everything goes to a new proportion all the time. This was a good manga at a point, and then I just got tired of it. So this one goes to the tag, Stop, You're Losing Me. The next manga is A Sign of Affection, and you may have seen this or not in any anime videos out there, because we have an anime adaptation this year. It's airing now on the winter season. So we follow the story of Yuki, a deaf girl that dreams of expanding her world, and she meets the love interest, Itsuomi, that is a multilingual boy who has traveled to a lot of places. They are kind of perfect for each other. This is so sweet. If you're looking for romance, please give this a try. Yuki is the cutest character I've ever seen. And Itsuomi, he's not a green flag, he's the entire garden with sunflowers. This has become one of my favorite mangas of all time, and this goes to the We Are Timeless tag. Next manga on the list is Imakoi. This is a high school romance manga, but it's not heavy on the drama. It's fun, it's very light and soft, if I can describe it that way. The main character, she's clumsy and cute, but not naive and stupid. The love interest, he looks like a delinquent and a bad boy, but he's really sweet. This is a different type of high school shoujo manga because we see a lot of drama, excessive consequences, and things out of proportion. You won't find it here. So if you want to get a good high school romance shoujo manga, give this a try, Imakoi. This goes to my... I forgot. I was enchanted to meet you tag. The next one is Usotoki Rhetoric. And we follow the story of this girl that can hear lies. She can hear in your voice something that tells her it's a lie. The character decides to leave her village because her power is known to everyone in the village. It has brought a lot of trouble for her and her mother. She decides to leave and go to the big city. This is set in Japan in the beginning of the Showa era, I believe. So the start of the era when Japan is starting to get more military forces is being heavily influenced by Occidental culture. She then decides to never use her powers again, which she fails. I think is in the first chapter. She just can't stand it. She can't hear lies. It would be a problem for her again if the person that discovers it out wasn't a detective looking for an assistant. Then she becomes the assistant of this detective and has a place to live and food to eat, even though the detective is also poor. The dynamic between the characters is so fun. This is a very, very, very light romance. The romance is not even the main part of this story, so if you're not looking for romance, still give this a try. The main part of this story are the mysteries, how she decides what to do with the lies when she hears them, and her interaction with her new boss. The art style of this manga, it's beautiful, beautiful. It's so different. I kid you not, guys, this is one of the prettiest mangas I've ever seen. So yes, please give this a try. This goes to my I would marry you with paper rings tag. Another one of my favorite mangas of the year is A Condition Called Love. So again, a high school shoujo romance, but it has a different take on it. We follow the story of this girl named Hotaru, and she believes she's kind of dead inside because she doesn't understand feelings and emotions that everyone seems to have. She doesn't understand how a person can put other one as highly in priority as their family. Her emotions and feelings goes only to her family, and she has some trauma with it that we don't know yet, but this is no spoiler. It's very clear in the first volume. And then she meets Hananoi. That is a boy that goes out with anyone who asks. And my Hotaru shows kindness towards Hananoi. He asks her out. She accepts because she thought, well, maybe this is a chance for me to try to feel something. Just check if I'm not a robot. And then we follow the story of these two as they discover their inner self and their problems. They make peace with themselves and they learn from each other. This is a very light, soft romance. I just love these characters. I would say that Hananoi is the main character here because the changes he goes through are greater than Hotaru. This will have an anime adaptation and I can't wait for it. This goes to the We Are Timeless tag. Another manga that goes to my We Are Timeless tag is Colette Deserves to Die. We didn't have an English publisher for this manga, but we will have this year with Viz providing this series for us. Thank the gods. We follow the story of this girl named Colette. She's a doctor and the only doctor in this village, and because she's the only doctor, she's so burned out and tired that she ends up falling into a well and going to the underworld where she meets the god Hades. The thing is, Hades is sick and he could use the help of a doctor. Good thing that one doctor fell from the sky, kind of literally, if you think he's in the underworld. Colette helps him and becomes the personal doctor of the underworld god. And yeah, this is a romance shoujo manga, so we follow their relationship development, and it's so sweet. So we get to see a new take on the Greek gods, and it's so fun, really. It's such a fun read. I'm so happy I'll be able to get my hands on Colette Deserves to Die. Again, we are a timeless tag. Just please read this. Just read this. The next manga on the list is Firefly Marriage, and this manga is interesting to say the least. We follow the story of this girl that has a heart condition, but she's kidnapped, and apparently someone hired these criminals to her, but she makes a deal with the person that is supposed to her, and she promises to marry him. And the love interest is a yandere samurai. If you don't know what yandere means, it means that, how can I describe yandere? I'm not sure I can make a perfect description of yandere for you. He's kind of cuckoo and violent, but not towards her. He's violent towards everybody else. He takes things out of proportion. Maybe I can describe yandere character as someone that thinks that violence is not the answer, is the question, and the answer is yes. This is a very twisted romance that I'm enjoying very much. I really hope we get to see English publisher taking this title for us. But yeah, be aware of the trigger warnings of blood, violence, sexual assault, and drugs. It has heavy topics. Nothing that we wouldn't see worse in shonen mangas, honestly. This one goes to my I would marry you with paper rings tag. The next manga is My Love 999 for Yamada-kun. We had an anime adaptation of this manga last year, I believe in the fall season. So we follow the story of this girl named Akane. She gets dumped by her boyfriend because he met someone in their online game. She wants to show him that she's fine, but she's not. Going to this conference or event of the game, she meets Yamada, that is a professional, I think, FPS player, and their story goes from there. This is not a shoujo manga, even though it has shoujo elements on it. This is a webcomic that is still going, and you can read it online. This goes to my I would marry you with paper rings tag. The next title is The King's Beast. This is a fantasy shoujo manga in this world where we have ajins that are half humans, half animals. So we follow the story of Hangetsu, an ajin that ends up being selected to be the beast servant of the third prince. The problem is only male ajins can be selected to be beast servants for the royals, and she wants to be the servant because the later beast servant for the third prince was her brother that ended up being killed. So we see her revenge journey. This has some delicate topics. I'm not sure I would put trigger warnings on this. Still, I would recommend this. This goes to my I would marry you with paper rings tag. The next title is Nina the Starry Bride, and we will have an anime adaptation of this manga. I'm not sure if this year or next year, we'll get to see it. We follow the story of Nina, that is this poor girl, and she is kidnapped, invited by this Prince Azure, and he asks her to be the dupe princess of the kingdom because the princess died, unfortunately. The thing is, the princess was supposed to marry the king of this other kingdom to bring peace in like a diplomatic attempt of peace. Since the princess died, there would be no peace, so Nina has to be her dupe and live as a princess. That's something that Nina doesn't want to. She doesn't give up on her inner self, and we see development in relationship between her and Prince Azure up until the point that she needs to go to her future husband. So it's not like we have a love triangle in this manga, but we do have two different love interest options. I'm team sad. Yeah, a fantasy romance shoujo manga. I recommend it. This goes to my I would marry you with paper rings tag. Next manga is My Happy Marriage. You may have seen this as an anime adaptation on Netflix last year. This is a kind of Cinderella story with superpowers. I was reading the manga adaptation and then moved to the light novel adaptation. The manga adaptation is better, and the story overall, I believe, it should have ended in the Cinderella arc. I don't know even how to explain this to you guys, the story for you guys. It gets so twisted and it changes so much. There are a lot of plot holes in the story. Unfortunately, even though I was enjoying the beginning, this will go to my stop you're losing me tag because yeah. Next one is Change of Hearts. I believe this is not a shoujo but a josei manga. It's a more adult themed. So we follow the story of this girl that broken up with her boyfriend, and she's crying her heart out to her childhood friend in his apartment. They are drinking and suddenly they end up sleeping together, which creates an embarrassing moment in the morning. He confesses to her, say that he always loved her, to maybe give them a chance, and she says, yeah, why not? Maybe he could be right. Maybe I could love in a different way my best friend, even though if we broke up, I will end up losing my best friend. So this is a very light story, and this goes to my I was enchanted to meet you tag. The next manga that I want to talk about is one that I've been following up since the first year it was published. That is Yona of the Dawn. This is a adventure political shoujo manga, and we follow the story of the princess Yona. She is exiled from her kingdom by her later childhood crush that is actually her cousin, and he murders her father kind of in front of her. Yeah, she was about to get killed on orders from this cousin that is now king, but she's saved by her other childhood friend Hawk. That's why I say that Jennifer L. Armentrout, she inspired from Blood and Ash from Yona of the Dawn. And then Hawk and Yona, they find this mysterious different person that tells them that Yona needs to find the 4 dragon warriors to help her save the kingdom. As we follow on the story, things start to change because there are wars happening, other conflicts, inner conflicts, social disputes. This is a very elaborate manga. It feels like a political plot, battles, and honestly an amazing art style. Yona of the Dawn is the manga for you. All the characters are amazing. One of the 4 dragons will be your favorite character. For me is Zeno. So the yellow dragon is my favorite dragon. Yes, it has romance, but really the romance is just a tiny little touch. It's barely there. I wish it would have more, but maybe I wish it would have more exactly because it doesn't. So we see how Yona, she develops as a leader, because before she was just a clueless princess, and she starts to get knowledge about her country, her people, and how her cousin is now as the current king of the Coca kingdom. We see a lot of points and facades of the characters. It's perfect. We are timeless. Okay, so for the last manga of the list is Let's Do It Already. This is a common romance shoujo manga. This thing is nuts. It doesn't make any sense. And that's the funny thing about it. The characters, they go overboard in how they solve the problems. Okay, so let's talk about the plot. So we follow this couple and the struggle that they face, that is, they can't have any sexual contact before the boy turns 18 as per rules in his traditional family. But the thing is, even holding hands is considered a sexual contact for this family. And the girl, she can't hold it anymore. She can't take it anymore because she can't even hold her boyfriend's hand. That's the funny part, because she tries to sabotage his plan of following the rules because he's all for the rules and tradition, and she then tries to seduce her own boyfriend, and he keeps saying no and escaping her traps in the most comical way. It's super fun. It's a super fun manga. Some parts of it may be quite annoying because of the way the manga treats him making excuses for himself and how she complies with him. Still, this is a fun read, really. And if I'm not mistaken, we'll have this published in English this year. I don't remember the publisher. So yeah, this goes for my I Was Enchanted to Meet You list. So yeah, guys, this is all I have for you today. I think it was a lot. I don't even know how long this video will take to edit and how long it will be on YouTube, but I hope you had some fun. If you have any questions or do you disagree with me on some of the books that I read, please leave down on the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!